Dan plays football every Saturday afternoon for his local team, and Melissa always goes along to watch and support him. Melissa is good friends with a couple of the other players' wives, and they usually sit together to watch the games. The match started at 3 p.m., but Dan and Melissa made their way to the football club for 2 so that Dan could join his team and start warming up. Melissa met up with her friends Claire and Lucy, getting a drink from the club bar before heading out onto the grass by the pitch to watch them warm up. "There's a good spot over here," Lucy exclaimed, pointing to an area by the halfway line. The 3 women made their way over and sat down on the grass. As Melissa took her seat, her dark blue jeans slipped a little bit and out popped 2 inches of butt crack. The women talked about their lives, laughed, and joked, with Melissa completely oblivious to her ass being on display. During the warm-up, a wayward pass from one of the players on Dan's team made its way past the ladies as they talked. Josh, one of his teammates, went to collect the ball which had stopped just behind Melissa. Upon retrieving the ball, he turned around and noticed her butt crack in clear view, and his heart skipped a beat in surprise and arousal. He stared at it longer than he should have done, with Lucy catching him off guard and asking, "Shouldn't you be on the pitch warming up?" "Oh yeah," Josh replied. "I was in my own world there for a moment. Cracking day, isn't it?" His pun was subtle enough not to raise any suspicion as he made his way back to the field. Josh made his way towards Dan, and upon seeing him, gave him a hinting laugh. "What's so funny, man?" Dan asked quizzically. "It's a little embarrassing," Josh cautiously responded. "Come on, man, just tell me. I'm not going to judge you." "Okay, I was getting the ball just now and I kinda saw your wife's butt. Her crack was properly hanging out, bro," Josh confessed. "Oh yeah, she has that problem sometimes," Dan admitted. "That woman can't keep her pants pulled up to save her life." Josh seemed turned on by Melissa's issue. "Must be nice to catch a glimpse of it, though. I wished Abby would show her crack once in a while." While Stan was turned on at the thought of Melissa's butt being exposed, he didn't want her to be embarrassed, especially as there were lots of people now standing behind her. He tried to get her attention, and eventually, she noticed. He started making a gesture to pull up her pants, but she couldn't quite make out what he was trying to communicate. "What's he doing?" her friend Claire asked. "Is he telling you to pull something?" "I don't know," said Lucy. "Does he need new shorts? I hope he hasn't peed his pants." I can't make it out," Melissa conceded. "If it's important, he'll come over." Melissa's failure to take the hint meant that her ass crack was still well and truly exposed, with people gathering behind her to watch the game. Chuckles from the crowd behind had started to emerge, but Melissa was none the wiser that they were laughing at her. One guy gave his friend a nudge before pointing at her exposed butt, leaving both men in hysterics. The game had kicked off, but by this point, more people had their eyes on Melissa's ass than the pitch. Sometimes as she leaned back, her shirt would just about be able to cover it, but as soon as something exciting happened in the game, she'd lean forward and her butt would make it back out again. Halftime came and Dan's team were winning 2-0, the second goal prompting Melissa to lean over and hug Lucy, extending the crack show to 3 inches. "I need the bathroom," Melissa exclaimed as she got up from the grass and in doing so, exposed an unholy amount of her butt crack to the very appreciative crowd of middle-aged men who had gathered behind her to enjoy the show. After visiting the bathroom and grabbing another drink, she sat back down to get ready for the second half with her butt crack yet again sticking out, this time with a little bit of her blue underwear on display. Maybe her undies were feeling left out, one guy joked to his friend. The second half began with Dan's team dominating, looking for a third goal. A really good move saw Dan through on goal, and from about 12 yards out, he slotted the ball past the keeper to make it 3. Melissa was so happy that Dan had scored that she hurled herself around, clapping, whooping, throwing herself onto her friends in jubilation as her jeans came down even more, exposing nearly half of her ass crack as she celebrated. "That's my husband who just scored," Melissa shouted proudly. "Lucky bastard," one man remarked behind her. The game finished 3-1 with the other team scoring a late consolation goal, but most of the crowd were too fixated on an ever-growing butt crack display to care. Dan came off the pitch so happy with the team's win. Melissa stood up to greet him, butt showing on the way up, before running up to him, jumping into his arms and, you guessed it, showing half of her butt crack to everybody. Even some of the opposition players took time to admire the view despite the defeat. Dan felt that Melissa's jeans were hanging very low and felt it was time to alert his wife to her malfunction. "You didn't get my message at the start of the game then?" he asked. "Yeah, what was that? I didn't get what you were trying to tell me," Melissa innocently replied. I was trying to get you to pull your pants up. Josh said he saw your butt crack as he went to fetch the ball. Oh no! Oh God! So, for the entire game, everyone saw my butt crack? And that means right now that everyone can see it? Melissa turned bright red with embarrassment before resting her head into Dan's chest. It's okay, honey, it was just an accident. Dan put his hands over Melissa's butt to cover it for her before making an announcement to everybody. I understand that my wife put on a little show for you today, but sadly, guys, that show's over. This butt is for my eyes only. Dan carried Melissa off the field with them, looking at each other lovingly. You know I'm going to have to buy you a belt for your birthday? Shut up! Melissa jokingly retorted as they set off down the path.